Hey going there, it's Lars here. Lay, as they call me on the streets. El Lazarino, as the Hispanics may say. Yeah, I always had a feeling, you know. When I was quite young, actually, probably like 5, 6, 7, and up through till my early teens, like 15. You know, I had dreams, actually, like astral projections. Probably when I was like 8, you know, I would go out into my sandpit, and then all my toys would be there, and one by one the toys would start floating up towards the sky, and then I would quickly grab hold of one of the toys and I would float up into the sky and just have this amazing journey in space. And then I remember one dream I had, you know, there was a spaceship that landed in my backyard, and out came a spaceman, you know, a man in a spacesuit, and introduced himself to me and had a conversation with me, you know. And I had a lot of dreams like that. And when I was in my later teens, or sort of mid-teens actually, maybe early teens, 13 to 15, about there, you know, I was writing stories. I remember writing one story about how you know, I was part of this like secret space program operation, and then every night, or every one night per week or something like that, I would be contacted, and then they would come and you know, they would come and get me and take me on this adventure, which I would have, you know, every night, or every night a week or something like that, and I'd go out on these, you know, anti-gravity like UFOs, and you know, I would go up there and do all sorts of stuff, and then come back. And you know, I was writing stories like this, and I'm thinking about this kind of thing when I was quite young, you know, in my early teens. I was thinking a lot about this, and you know, it was not like just purely me that was having some sort of like recall or something like that. Maybe I was in a secret space program in a past life, and these memories were just sort of coming back or something like that. I wouldn't, you know, go that far, you know, but you know, I wouldn't go as far as to try and suggest that, you know, but like, you know, people brought this stuff up with me, you know, like when I was 13, well, sorry, I can't say exactly, 12, 13, and you know, the start of high school in New Zealand, which starts at about 13 years of age. You know, I had one reliever teacher, or you know, teacher helper dude, you know, one of those relievers who sits next to the kids and keeps an eye on them. You know, they usually come and sit next to the hypo children that you know, start talking too much, and then they keep an eye on them and just like make them do their work. And so anyway, I was that kid, you know. I had that guy kind of sit next to me and keep an eye on me. And the funny thing there was that a lot of the people that get hired to the primary schools and secondary schools, and you know, and even early high school years, that get hired to keep an eye on these kids, they themselves were those kind of kids, and are those kind of people, you know, that have a little bit of ADHD, or I don't know, something like that. So that's kind of interesting, and I guess you could throw all that in there, and you could just say, well, see, you know, these people like Corey Good, Randy Kramer, Elena Kapolnik, you know, all these people, well, you know, it's just because they had, you know, some sort of ADHD, some sort of learning disorder, so they latched onto this whole thing as a release for that, as a you know, to fill that something that was missing in them, you know, to give them some sort of relief or something like that. You So I guess you could throw that in there, and there may be an element of that, as well. So certainly, I'm open to all possibilities, and I try to be very critical of myself as well. Even though that this is kind of my main interest in something that I'm trying to do on YouTube, Facebook, social media now. Because I really feel that there is something going on, and I would very much like to gain access to that. I see that as a very worthwhile thing to spend time on, rather than just going to work as usual, going to school as usual. I mean, if there is any chance that there is some other more higher advanced parallel society going on right now that branched off from us, from like World War II or whoever started developing this technology in secret, I mean, if we can gain access to that and kind of somehow link both these societies somehow, I think that would be very, very beneficial both to us and to them. I mean, for us it'd be like, we'd get more useful technology, and we could alleviate poverty. We could help educate people much more and make food much cheaper, transport much cheaper, all that stuff. And for them, for those people in those programs, I think they would benefit hugely as well, because think of all the things that would be lacking in their society. Probably it would be something like a lot of the art, culture, spiritual practices, meditational practices, traditions, and all this kind of stuff that is really like the grassroots of a human being from this planet. I think they probably feel a great hole in themselves because they don't have a connection with that. They don't. That is not basically almost is not allowed within their. They would have a lot of security protocols and stuff to cut that off. So I think by linking these, they would be able to get back to their grassroots, and that would help them a lot. And for us, it would help us to become more technologically advanced and fix problems in our society. So it would be a very great benefit, if we could do that. And I think it's important to see it from that point of view, because like a lot of the disclosure movement today, like most of the people that I see talking about it on YouTube and stuff, it's all from this perspective of there's a grand spiritual awakening. It's a everyone's going to become enlightened, and then we're all just going to be beyond the need for food, shelter, and basic necessities. We're just going to all ascend, as they say. And I mean, that just seems totally biased and just totally unrealistic. I mean, if we're living in the third dimension here, or whatever you call it, we're going to need food, we're going to need shelter, we're going to need to sustain the molecules that our body is made of, right? So it's so strange why everyone's into this, and it's also very politically biased. A lot of these people are really left-leaning, so it's almost as if it has some ties to politics and a lot of stuff that's going on. So really, I just don't trust all that stuff. It's much more appealing to me if it's about, look, this is what you can gain access to that's going to benefit everything as it is right now. Not something that can only be achieved when everyone's just like enlightened and ascended to heaven. Sure, but will that ever happen? You know what I mean? So might as well go for something practical, So I am very much in this aspect of it. I don't really buy this grand spiritual awakening, ascending consciousness, yada yada yada. I really don't buy it. I see it as being very biased and and politically biased as well. So I'm pretty sure whatever aspect of the UFO phenomenon that really will benefit us, I'm pretty sure it's going to be something that is not biased politically. It's just going to be, some means of producing more efficient, synthesizing electricity a lot more efficiently, and stuff that's going to improve our transport, that's going to improve our social welfare, and pretty much all sectors of industry and society. I don't buy this idea that it's this just esoteric, untangible, spiritual thing. So I would really recommend just watching out for those people. Like I was kicked out of a CE5 group just because I was well, one part of it was just that I was being practical and I was raising very logical concerns, and a lot of these people just somehow believe that disclosure is just about ascending to a level where their body will no longer need food or basic sustenance or whatever, that the whole material world is just an illusion, etc., etc. I don't buy that. Like, where's the premise of that? Where's the proof? Why not just look around at how the world is and how it needs to be improved, and what aspect of the UFO phenomenon could help with that? Like realistically, in terms of arts, science, culture, engineering. A lot of the stuff that engineered these anti-gravity, electricity synthesizing, free energy, yada yada yada. That came from a whole nother aspect of electrical engineering that was obviously underway probably before the 1920s, probably starting with people like Nikola Tesla, James Clerk Maxwell, C.P. Steinmetz. A lot of their work is very much along this non-physical aspect of science, and very much not materialist, nothing to do with quantum, leptons, photons, gravitons, quasars, nothing to do with this particle science. They were very much talking about stuff like, space and counter space, and magnetism and dielectricity, and how those two together combined produce electricity and stuff like that. And like scientists like what was his name, Jeffermenko, they were through mathematical equations proving that there is no causal link between the generator that's turning around and the electricity that's coming out. It's not like you you move the magnetic field this much past the conductor and then this electricity is directly linked. Like, there is no actual causal link, and that's provable mathematically. And yet we're all taught that there is a causal link, whereas there's not. So this non-material aspect of electricity and magnetism was well underway before the 1920s, and people couldn't figure it out. It didn't make any sense to them because they didn't have the I don't know, meditational side, non-physical side, or just the natural philosophy, the understanding of natural philosophy to go into that non-material side. They were like, people's minds were already starting to become very materialistic and solidified, so they took mathematics and created a different, a quantizable mathematical material interpretation of it, and that's what we have now. So these are the sciences that need to come forth, and in order for that to happen, we have to look at this in a very unbiased way, just a neutral way, and I think a lot of the spiritual, this spiritual bias, this desire for this grand raising of consciousness and spiritual awakening, that like Gaia TV and all this stuff is just marketing. That's what they're doing. They're marketing this this idea, you know, it's really political in a way. It's really, you know, left-leaning, or not necessarily left-leaning, but it can be used as that kind of device, you know. So be very careful of that crap, and yeah, think about coming on board. And, you know, if you could send a message to myself, I'm starting a group down there, Countdown to Disclosure, and at least I've done my 2 cents, done my bit to at least make some practical plan about how to do this. You know, 7 steps you can read the way I've written it, and yeah, just on a very practical level, you know, how can we actually get ourselves into that economy, that other economy that's happening there, you know. Yeah, so please think about this. There's the Facebook group down there, you know, like, dislike, share, don't share it, but yeah, just be wise, and yeah, join me in the Facebook group, and let's make a logical plan, you know, how to achieve this.